The Great Depression, spanning from 1929 to the late 1930s, is one of the most profound economic crises in world history. It originated in the United States but quickly spread across the globe, leading to widespread unemployment, economic decline, and significant social change. The causes of the Great Depression were complex and multifaceted, involving a combination of domestic and international economic issues, policy failures, and global trade disruptions. The effects were equally severe, impacting every aspect of life and reshaping how governments approached economic policy and regulation. Causes of the Great Depression. 1. Stock market crash of 1929. A most immediate trigger of the Great Depression was the stock market crash on October 29, 1929, often referred to as Black Tuesday. Throughout the 1920s, stock prices in the U.S. had surged, leading to speculative investments by individuals and institutions alike. Many investors bought stocks on margin, borrowing money to invest, which increased the risk in the market. When stock prices began to fall, panic ensued and a massive sell-off followed, wiping out billions of dollars in wealth and devastating investor confidence. 2. Bank failures. As the stock market collapsed, banks began to fail across the United States. Many banks had invested heavily in the stock market, and when it crashed, they lost a significant portion of their assets. Furthermore, as frightened customers rushed to withdraw their savings, many banks did not have enough liquid assets to cover the withdrawals, leading to a wave of bank failures. By 1933, nearly 9,000 banks have failed, further crippling the U.S. economy. 3. Reduction in consumer spending. As banks failed and the stock market collapsed, consumers lost confidence in the economy. With reduced access to credit and their savings diminished, individuals cut back on spending. This led to a drop in demand for goods and services, causing businesses to reduce production and lay off workers, which in turn further decreased consumer spending. 4. Agricultural overproduction and the Dust Bowl. Farmers, particularly in the U.S. Midwest, were already facing difficulties due to falling crop prices throughout the 1920s. Overproduction of crops, coupled with technological advances in farming, had driven down prices. In the early 1930s, the situation worsened as the Dust Bowl, a series of severe droughts and dust storms, devastated farmland across the region. As crop yields plummeted, many farmers went bankrupt and lost their land. 5. International trade collapse. The Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930 was intended to protect American industries by raising tariffs on imported goods. However, this backfired as other countries retaliated by imposing tariffs on U.S. exports, leading to a sharp decline in international trade. As global trade diminished, economies around the world, particularly in Europe, which was still recovering from World War I, also began to collapse. Effects of the Great Depression. 1. Widespread unemployment. By 1933, unemployment in the United States had reached 25%, with millions of Americans out of work. The lack of jobs led to widespread poverty and homelessness. People formed makeshift communities, often referred to as Hoovervilles, named after President Herbert Hoover, where they lived in extreme poverty. 2. Decline in industrial production. The reduction in consumer demand and spending led to a sharp decline in industrial production. Factories closed and businesses across a range of sectors, including manufacturing, construction, and retail, laid off workers or went bankrupt. Industrial production in the U.S. fell by more than 46%, and global production also saw significant declines. 3. Government intervention and the New Deal. In response to the economic crisis, President Franklin D. Roosevelt introduced the New Deal, a series of government programs and reforms aimed at stimulating the economy and providing relief to those affected by the Depression. These programs included public works projects to create jobs, the establishment of Social Security, and banking reforms like the Glass-Steagall Act to restore confidence in the financial system. 4. Global impact. The Depression wasn't confined to the U.S., it affected economies around the world. In Germany, the Depression exacerbated economic problems that had persisted since World War I, contributing to the rise of Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party. In Britain, unemployment soared and many industries, especially coal mining and shipbuilding, were severely affected. Countries reliant on trade with the U.S. faced economic devastation as demand for their exports dried up. The Great Depression remains a key event in understanding the vulnerabilities of capitalist economies and the importance of governmental oversight in preventing and mitigating economic disasters.